homework that Lon handed out. All right, we're right on track. Perfect.
Crickets.
Do what?
I said crickets.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
I was like,
That's
we
what
have
I figured.
homework.
Okay, as a follow-up to the homework, precursor to other things, what I want to talk to you guys about today is getting real clear on what you're going to do next year. Okay, I am very passionate about a few things, and one of those being that I don't believe realtors should lose their life in the pursuit of being a real estate agent. I passionately believe that this business is supposed to serve your life, not be your life. Okay? I also believe that whatever it is you say you want to do, if you really do want to do it, you can do it. It all just leads, it's just a series of decisions that have to be made. It's a series of tools that you have to acquire. And so we're just going to talk conceptually about this idea, okay? And I'll just lay out some things for you. So the life test is the hardest test that you'll ever take, okay? There's only one question. Nobody can help you answer the question. But everybody tries to help you answer the question regularly, even if you don't ask them to. So what's the question?
What do you want?
What do you want? Right? Because people go through life, I have all kinds of life theories that will come out, right? People go through life constantly telling other people how they should be leading their life. Okay? And nowhere is this more prevalent, quite honestly, than a real estate office. By its design, or lack thereof, a real estate office is kind of a den of opinion, right? Because all the people here, we're just swapping opinions back and forth on things we believe to be true, and so it can really trip you up, okay? If you get really clear on what it is that you want, right, things change. And we know this, and we've all experienced it before. Prior to you, though, making the decision, it's like everybody around you is like a headwind. They're making you second guess yourself, right? But once you make the decision, that like, my Jimmy's, this is what I'm going to do, an odd thing honestly does happen to you. And it's all those headwinds turn around and get behind you. In the beginning, it's what happens every time. It's almost like, okay, you made a decision, so God blesses you. Okay, you made a decision. Let me make it really easy for you in the beginning. Just be aware, it will get hard. Okay? And that's where we find out how badly did you really want it. How badly would you really stick to it when the winds of change started blowing in your face a little again, which means you have to make another decision and step forward. At my core, I believe this is how life works. Period. It's end of, that's it, we're done. There you go. No. There's more to it than that. It's strictly between you and you. Okay? What you want to do is your gig. It's nobody else's gig. Don't compare your deal to somebody else's deal. Don't share your deal with somebody else's deal. It's your deal. Now, ultimately, you can share it with people that you trust and that you know will not shred your deal. Okay? And that comes from modeling things out, understanding numbers, and being very consistent. And we're going to talk about all that. I'm going to make you do homework today, actually. Okay? So, if you know where you're going and you just know that you'll get there, you will not be able to lay out the pathway that you're going to get there. You just know ultimately this is where I'm going to get to. Okay? And it's a lot like this guy. Right? Guy climbing up an ice face. He has no idea how he's going to get there. He can't even get there the same way twice. He just knows he's going to get to the top. And it's one little deal at a time, right? And this move, the next move that I make, is predicated on the last move that I just made. But if I don't ever make a move, it's all just swimming around in my head, right? And what I would challenge all of us to do is, in our mind's eye, right, we have the perfect business model in our head. Intellectually, we get it. We know everything we should be doing in our business. What we got to try to bridge is the gap between what we know is in our head and what we actually do every day. Right? And because we're not crystal clear on exactly how badly we want something, we are now buffeted, if you will, by the winds of change. And the winds of change are other people. All right? And I just want you guys to get really clear on that. Because I will guarantee you, you can think back in your life to the times when you really had a great gain in your life and it all started with you making a decision. And the people showed up at the right time, every time, to help you get there. And as long as you just kept making more decisions and you kept moving forward, you always got there. This is how life works. So the biggest challenge in growing your business is what? What would you say your biggest challenge? Yourself. Okay? To break it down a little bit, I think that everybody has one of two challenges when it comes to business. Not real estate business, just business. A, I don't really know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing or how to do it. But converse of that is, I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing and how to do it, I just don't do it. Right? But there's really no middle ground. You either know how to do it and you don't, or you don't know how to do it, and you think that if I knew how to do it, I'd go do it. And I can't believe that guy knows how to do it and he doesn't do it. Right?
Did you say that again?
That whole thing again? Right? You either know how to do it and you don't do it, right? Or you don't know how to do it yet. Okay? I guess I'm making one broad assumption. That for every person in this room, you want to do more. Now you get to define what more is, but you want to do more. I want to grow. Because the old adage is you're either growing or you're dying. You're never standing still. And it is very true. And growth may very well not be monetary. And that's okay. It's your journey. But growth could be less hours for the same amount of money. Growth could be more money in the same amount of hours. Growth could be more money and less hours. Right? Because we're trading our time here for something. Right? Every hour that you're here, you could be doing something else. You could be home with your kids, you could be playing with your dog, you could be home with your spouse, you could be on a trip. So we got to get off of thinking it's okay to mail it in. We got to get off the fact that today doesn't matter. I got tomorrow. Well, you don't always have tomorrow. I mean, at its extreme level, you do not always have tomorrow. I lost my oldest sister's grandson died Memorial Day at 12 years old. Had a headache, and he was dead that night. You don't always have tomorrow, right? And I just heard Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook guy, he made some comment last week that I read, I don't remember where I read it. He said, I don't feel like I'm doing my job if I'm wasting time. Too many people rely on what we do, and I can't waste my time. I have to be intentional, right? So the buzzword, I guess, is to be intentional. So the 3 C's of growth, okay? Number 1 is clarity. And clarity says this: I'm trading my time for money, therefore it is unacceptable for my business to net me less than what number in 2015? You have to have a number. Because if you don't have a number, then whatever you do is cool. Right? It's like Alice in Wonderland. If you remember Alice in Wonderland and the Cheshire Cat. And the Cheshire Cat looks at Alice in Wonderland and says, "Where are you going?" And she says, "I don't know." He goes, "Then it doesn't matter what you do." And if you don't have a number, it doesn't matter what you do. And you don't have to nail it today, and you always got tomorrow and all that. So I want you all to have a number, okay, that is your net number. I don't care what your gross is, personally, okay? And I was the guy last year that would stand up and hand you the plaques for gross income. I don't care. I'm not going to hand you the plaque this year because I'm not with the region anymore. I don't care what your gross is. I care what your net is. And net, to me, is defined as net income and net time. There's 2 nets that we deal with all the time. It's all about the net. Okay? Number two, confidence. If you're really clear on what you're trying to do, and if you have confidence in certain realms, and confidence says, I'm really good at this. I'm not so good at that. You need to figure out what your sweet spot is in this deal. For some of you, it's buyers. For some of you, it's listings. If your number's big enough and your sweet spot is buyers, right? And we run the numbers and we realize physically you can't work with that many buyers in a year. You just can't do it. Or you're not willing to do it because it'll violate the time continuum. Then we're going to have to work on a skill set for listing property. So that we can have you be more confident again, because so much of what we do or don't do is all our belief system. And there's a lot of realtors that believe listings are just horrible. They just do, right? A lot of realtors believe listings are horrible. Small group of realtors believe buyers are horrible, right? And so when we talk the time thing, when we talk buyers, people are like, I hate buyers. No, you don't. You hate people that don't buy. Right? You love buyers, the guy that really buys, and you really love a buyer whose buying process matches up with your process. Right? You dislike buyers whose buying process is the opposite of your buying process. But if you don't explain your buying process to them, they're operating with their process, you're operating with your process, the expectation levels are like this, and it's awful. And then you do the realtor mantra of, I've been working with him so long now, I got to keep going, at least make something on this deal, right? And I think one of the concepts that I read about years ago was to just acknowledge in every relationship that we get into, in the very beginning we're very excited because it's the beginning, and we don't ever think it's going to end. But the end is there the same day it starts. Okay? The end of you working with a buyer is there the day you start working with them. It will be over at some point. So if we acknowledge it's going to be over, if we acknowledge the listing is going to be over at some point, doesn't it make sense for us to make sure that if it's going to be over, shouldn't it be on our terms? And maybe shouldn't we walk away a little more often than we do sometimes? Okay, just to get clear. All right. And then lastly is consistency. Right? Lastly is consistency. And here's what I want you guys, here's what I want your mantra to be for 2015, if you choose to run down this path with me, because I think this is how life works. I will commit to blank every workday. I will be consistent on one thing in the context of my business model that I understand the numbers of. Okay? I will make sure that every day I do that, because the numbers tell me that if I do that every day, I'll get there. I've got my numbers worked out so well that I know that if I do this every day, I've already run those numbers, I made assumptions, I had conversion rates, I had all that stuff. Now you can go share your goal with whoever you want to. Because now you got confidence, because you know your math. And then it's just about a repetition. And it's about learning some skill sets in the context of what you said. But it all starts with, it is unacceptable for me to net less than X. To give you context, if you're running a very effective individual agent model or an individual agent with an assistant, you should be netting target, and if you're doing better than this, it's awesome, about 65%. You should keep 65 cents out of every dollar that you make. For a team, the target is 50-50. Okay? So if you're an individual agent and you're not netting, they'll say you're only netting 30% of your money, and you're spending 70% of it somewhere, we need to crawl inside your business and see where you're wasting money, because you're spending money that's not getting you a return. But we can't do any of that until we know this number, right? Okay. So, we talked about having pods last time I was here, right? And this will kind of drive it home, all right? For all of us in business, there are 3 buckets of business that can be acquired. Anything that we do falls within these 3 buckets. Not just in real estate, this is just business, right? A, we can have referrals. We can have people referring us to other people. B, we can advertise our way to success. This is us spending money to get people that we do not know to contact us. Or C, we can go out and talk to people that we do not know. So we can have other people telling people that we don't know, hey, you ought to use them. We can spend money to get people that we don't know to contact us, or we can actively go talk to people that we don't know. Those are the only three buckets for any business, right? This is why big companies have call centers. That's active prospecting. This is why they spend money on Super Bowl ads. That's advertising, right? This is why you buy the same kind of car somebody else did because they said it was a great car. That's the referral side of it. If you had your choice, how would you run your business? How many people would love to do this totally by referrals? It would just be awesome. Some of you probably already are. Okay? I knew that's what you would say. That's why I have an arrow that goes to referrals. Okay? Because that's what everybody says. So that's one bucket of business is the referral piece. There's rules to the referral piece. There's dynamics to the referral piece. There's money that must be spent in the pursuit of referrals. There's a consistency to the referral piece. There's also a number you have to have, 250 to 300 people. If you have 250 to 300 people that know you, like you, and want to deal with you again, you have a very vibrant, and a business that we can model out. We can predict how much business you will do. And it will be mid to upper six figures. You got 250, 300 cool people who know a lot of people that think you're awesome and they tell all their friends to use you, this thing will just keep right on humming. If you don't have 250 to 300 people, you have to go down one path or the other. A lot of that is based on your behavior style and what you'll consistently do. You can either advertise your way to success. You can take out billboards, you can do geographic farms, we're going to go in detail in a second on all these. Or you can go out and you can talk to people that you do not know. But if you are not wired to talk to people consistently that you do not know, you will not do it. Okay? I mean, that's why we gave you all the DISC test. There are certain people in here, you'll just go talk to people you don't know. It is not a problem. Rejection is not an issue. For other people, you have black cord fever. You are never going to pick up the phone and call people you do not know. Right? So we have to really dig deeper and go, okay, if this is who you are, here's the math of you being you on a regular basis. Okay? Where realtors mess this up, okay, is they do a little bit of advertising, right? Mostly reactive advertising when the seller says you better run an ad or I'm going to cancel a listing, right? We've all had that guy or lady. They do a little bit of prospecting, right? And we only prospect when we really have no listings and we really have no buyers and we're like, well, now I got to go prospect. So the worst time to prospect is when you actually need business. It's not fun. It's a lot more fun to prospect when you don't need the business. You're just trying to add on to the edges, right? And we don't contact our past clients enough. That is the Achilles heel of this industry, right? So how many of you I think I asked you this last night, how many of you contact your past clients more than 24 times a year?
But you can do all three continuously, I mean, and make it work for you, you know, and so you don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, okay? And so if you do all three plus some other things, you can get that round-the-clock business from all three different generations of business.
Right.
So it functions well and smoothly throughout the course of the entire year.
Totally agree with you.
You can, Joe. Yeah, I do.
Right. Have you ever read the book? Hang on, Joe. Seriously, and I mean this as a compliment. Have you ever read the book Outliers?
Uh-huh.
You're an outlier.
Oh.
And then I mean that in a massively good way. I mean the Beatles were outliers, right? You're an outlier. You can do that.
Yeah.
A lot of people live here in Tweenerland. Okay? And Tweenerland is they live in little tweener houses, they drive little tweener cars, they live in like Tweenerville. And they don't do enough of any of these things to matter, and yet they do all of them all the time. Right? Because within these three big buckets of business, there's 17 methodologies. all 17 of those things within the bucket. You got 2 or 3 in each bucket that you're nailing, right, at a very high level. And that is the common theme that I've seen in top producing realtors. For people that are challenged, it's like, well, I'm going to try a little of this, and I'm going to try a little of that. Okay, you're doing good with Zillow. I'm going to go buy some Zillow leads. And never really understand the whole Zillow game and what you have to do to maximize that, right? So we dabble. We're dabblers, right? Oh. I know. How much is the fine? How much is it? How much is it? There's got to be a fine. I know there is. Okay, so when you live in tweener land, okay, and I didn't invent the tweener land thing. It came from a book called The Motley Fool Investment Guide by the Gardner brothers, and they talked about tweener companies. And famous tweener companies were Kmart, Sears, Boston Market, not Boston Chicken, because they were awesome when they were Boston Chicken. Then they did line extension. They became Boston Market, and they went under, right? And the idea of a tweener is, when you look at Kmart, you're like, well, what's Kmart? It's not Walmart. The prices aren't as low as Walmart. It's not as cool as Target. What is Kmart? It's caught betwixt and between. It's a tweener company, right? Sears, a tweener company. What does Sears sell? Like everything. And there was a point in time back in the day when you had to sell everything, right? Sears and Roebuck's dry goods. I mean, you went to one store, they had everything. Now it's not about that. It's about specialization. The money is in specialization. So when you think Kmart, you get this muddled vision in your head. When I say Nordstrom, you get you get a very clear picture. When I say Mercedes-Benz, you get a very clear picture, or Lexus, you get a very clear picture. If I say Chevy, it's like, well, which Chevy are you talking about, right? Okay.
Chevy to the levee.
You got to get out of tweener land, okay? Because when you live in tweener land, you start doing what's called the tweener death rattle. And that's like, this isn't working. I'm working a ton of hours. I'm not making the money. This is stressful. I haven't seen my kids. I missed my kids' ball game, all that stuff, right? And the tweener death rattle for realtors is, if this thing doesn't turn in the next 60, 90 days, I'm out. I'm going to quit. I got to go find a real job. I have been the tweener guy. Almost quit. I grabbed this picture. This was funny. I saw this sitting on the deal. This was the exact suit and tie combination with shirt that Dennis Curtin had on when he came and pitched our office on joining RE/MAX. That suit and tie is burned into my brain because I was quitting the real estate business. And because of his presentation, I didn't. And that was however many years ago, 20 some odd years ago. And I picked this up. I look at Gina, oh man, that's that tie. That black and white squiggly tie, right? Because that meeting changed my life. I mean, it really did. Because I was like, wow, I got to do that. I can do that. Nobody told me that. I was on that side of the ledger. I knew I could do it. I just didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. Okay? Bottom line for tweeners is they're not focused. You just got to get focused. We got to get focused, and then we have to get understand what we're trying to do, and then allow people to align themselves to help us do that. Okay? And then there's history in business of this is what works. So there's 3 issues. Number 1 is your skill set. Number 2 are your disciplines. And number 3 are your habits. We are nothing but the conglomeration of our daily habits. Okay? There is a great book called The Power of Habit. And basically the premise of the book is everything that we do that is now a habit started out as a conscious decision. And then it just became a rote habit. And it's weird in this book because he talks about the fact that you, without even realizing it, you always put one leg or the other in first in a pair of pants. You get dressed in exactly the same way every morning. You either brush your teeth before you take a shower or you brush your teeth after you take a shower. Or for some weird reason, my daughter brushes her teeth in the shower, which I don't understand, but that's her gig, right? We do everything by habit. We don't know why we do it by habit. Okay? We have habits that are awesome for us. You know, the exercise habit, the eating right habit. We have habits that are not good for us. And we acknowledge we want to break some of those habits, right? If you read the book, The Power of Habit, what he will tell you is you never break the habit. You just redefine the habit. Because the reason we have a habit is we had a desire that was some desire. The habit fulfills the desire, and we receive a reward on the back end. You're never going to break the chain of desire, act, reward, because you need, that's just what a habit is. So you have to trick it up, and you have to say, okay, I now have this desire I used to have, and I went, and for me it was chewing tobacco. I'll just be transparent, right? I'm a tobacco chewer. I quit 5 weeks ago. And I've had to change it up because I crave it, right? Especially right after I eat, noon. Oh yeah. So I have to, you have to put things in place if you really have the desire to break the habit of it. Any shortfall or frustration you have in your life, I think you can tie back to one of these three things. I'm either frustrated because I don't have the skill set to do what it is I want to do. I don't have the discipline to do what I want to do. And it's not a habit yet that's an empowering habit for me. So beware of the rule of what I call the rule of two. My contention is, if 2 days go by on this consistency thing, I will commit to doing this every day. Right? Remember that? If 2 days go by and you don't do it, you're really close to not doing it for 2 weeks. And if 2 weeks goes by, you're really close to not doing it for 2 months, and then it can be a couple of years before you go back to the gym or start eating right again or whatever.
Very true.
I call it the rule of two. I invented that. That's mine. So I should trademark the rule of two. Also, embrace the power of 15. If you will just start out trying to spend 15 minutes a day, because you can't tell me you don't have 15 minutes. Okay? 15 minutes a day by yourself thinking about your business. Get a notebook and just start writing things down about your business. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. Okay? 15 minutes of journaling, if you will. Right? 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes a day, and the power of two is what keeps me working out on a regular basis. I just get it that if I skip 2 days, I'm in trouble. And the power of 15 says, even if I can just go work out for 15 minutes, I at least did it. And so the habit's not busted up. Okay? This is so powerful in your business, it's incredible. Okay? I just try to get everybody, just give me 15 minutes. Because I think we would all acknowledge if I said, hey, take 2 weeks off, go somewhere by yourself, and plan out 2015. I think we'd all acknowledge that if you spent 2 solid weeks doing that, you'd be like, all right, my business is going to be better this year. And you'll never do it. But if you'll spend 15 minutes a day for 50 weeks, you will have spent 2 weeks. I got brokers in New Jersey doing this right now. I posted on their Facebook page this morning, I said, this is day 8. You should be 2 hours closer to the business of your dreams if you just spend 15 minutes a day. I'm not getting a lot of likes on those posts, just to tell you. They're not liking it. They're not liking it, which means they're not doing it, right? Okay. So achievement keys, okay? And I believe these to be just laws, right? Talent, awareness, and recognition. What are you good at, okay? Knowledge, both factual and experiential. Knowledge of the real estate business today is more important than it's ever been because the consumer now has access to a tremendous amount of knowledge. And so our value proposition with them has changed. We have to be able to interpret that information they already have at a higher level than they can. We're going to work on those issues. Okay? I believe that every person in this room, regardless of how you're going to generate your business, I think every person needs to have a fabulous listing presentation that you know forwards, backwards, and sideways. I think you need to have a fabulous buyer presentation that you know forwards, backwards, and sideways that goes along with what your processes are for listing and selling property. I think everybody needs to have a great past client system, staying in contact with those people we've already done a good job for. And I think everyone needs to understand how to value property and explain value to sellers and buyers, but more importantly to sellers, in a way that resonates with them so they understand it. Right? I mean, I don't think it's about their price versus your price. I think it's about the price. For all of your listings, there is a price point today where your house would be the best house on the market. It's either the best house or it's not. Lon and I were talking about this earlier. You would think You always think that when you go out to show somebody property, there's going to be, like I just did this, 250 to 300,000 in Springfield. I thought there's going to be a lot of really nice houses for 250 to 300. No, there were a lot of houses. There were 3 really nice ones. And by the way, they were the 3 really nice ones that my guy and everybody else that was looking at those houses. If sellers understand that, they make different decisions. And one of the little deals that we'll go through is my 23 immutable laws of real estate. Because this thing operates very rotely every time. All we're playing with is how long is it going to take it to do it. That's all we're really playing with is time frame. Okay. The reality, habit, focus, consistency, and others. You need other people. Talent, awareness, and recognition. Here's a wacky statistic. Distinguish your talents from what you could learn. You can learn anything. I can go learn how to do Trulia and Zillow. The question is, will I? No, I won't. Right? I could learn how to do that. But that'll, and I know you do a fabulous job with it, and I commend you for that. That's just not me, right? That's just not how I'm wired. I get how I'm wired. I get what I'll consistently go do. There's 17 methods I could use. Number 16 and 17 would be Zillow and Trulia for me. Now, if the business moved massively and I had to go do that, then I have another set of decisions to make, right? 20% of the global workforce, 20% of the people trading their time for money in the world believe that their strengths are in play on a daily basis in the workplace. 20% of the people in the world believe I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's low.
2 flawed assumptions. Number 1, each person can learn to be competent in almost anything. And number 2, each person's greatest room for growth is in his or her area of greatest weakness. It's not true. It's a societal thing that we lay out. You just need to really work on what you're not good at. Right? We can teach anybody to do anything. You can, that's true. But when you study fabulously successful people, which I'll prove to you at the end of this, that's not what they did. They maximized what they were already good at. As opposed to, each person's talents are enduring and unique. You all have a unique talent. You all have a sweet spot, right? It's on vibrate. I can't help it if they keep calling. Okay. Each person's greatest room for growth is in the area of your greatest strength. Right? I'm a golfer. Okay? I play a lot of golf. I play competitively. I've won a lot of crap. I can make a golf ball go left to right. Any height you want it to, any quickness you want it to. I can make it go a little bit. I can make it go a lot. You ask me to make a golf ball go right to left and tension creeps in. Because that's not my natural golf swing. If you read about golfers, they will always talk about take one side of the golf course out of play. Know what the ball is going to do every time. You don't want to play what we call army golf, which is left, right, left, right, left, right. Right? You don't want to play army golf. You take one side of the golf out of play. That's what your strength is. Capitalize on your strengths moving forward in 2015 and beyond, because that's where success is. I will give you 4 case studies in this. Ready, willing, and able. Remember that saying?
Yeah.
You just got to be ready, willing, and able. Well, are you able to do whatever it is you write down? Of course you are. Somebody's already doing it. Whatever you write down, somebody's already ahead of you. They're already doing it. The beautiful part is they'll actually tell you exactly how they did it. So if you can get clear on this is what I want to do and this is how I want to run my business, I will guarantee you, I'll make you a promise, I will hook you up with somebody that's farther down the road than you are doing it exactly like you want to do it. Because they're out there. The question is, are you willing? Everybody's able. The difference is who's willing and who's not. So are you willing to make sizable investments in yourself? Are you willing to go where you have to go? Are you willing to do what you have to do? Are you willing to change what has to be changed? Because if you bought into the very first or second slide of this, which is I want to grow, you being you doing you, got you where you are. If you want it to be different, something's got to give. right? If you want more balance in your life, something has to change. If you want more money, new activities have to be done on a consistent basis. That's all it is. And then it's about helping people or having people align themselves with you. Are you willing to let go of what has to let go? Are you willing to say no sometimes? One of the rules we have to learn is there's sometimes you need to say no. Not everything that happens to you, not everybody you come in contact with carries equal weight. They don't. It's Pareto's law, right? It's the 80-20 principle. You know the 80-20 principle, right? You will make 80% of your income from 20% of your activities. It's a law. You'll walk on 20% of that carpets in your house 80% of the time. You'll wear 20% of the clothes in your closet 80% of the time. You'll go to 20% of the restaurants in town 80% of the time, and when you get there, you'll order from 20% of the menu 80% of the time. It's a law. There's 20% people and there's 80% people. There's people that can drive your business to a higher level. There's other people you just need to get away from as fast as you can. Not every call that comes in carries the same weight. You're always playing the 80-20 game in your head. Okay? Because the 80-20 game is about focus and about consistency. Are you willing to move where you have to move? Are you willing to study what has to be studied? Are you willing to read again like we used to? There is one common theme in high producers. They are voracious readers. I've just seen it everywhere I've ever traveled. People that are nailing it, they read, it's stupid how much they read. Are you willing to take direction when it's required? Are you a learning-based person? I'm sure Lon's talking about being learning-based versus ignorance-based. Are you willing to take direction? Are you willing to have a different set of eyes, look at what you're doing and go, why do you do that? And are you willing to change if that's what has to happen? Are you willing to continue in the face of failure? Are you going to give up? Are you willing to commit yourself 100% to living the way you choose to live? And are you willing to receive ridicule, humiliation, and all that good stuff that comes along with making a decision and changing? Because it will happen. Another great book I've mentioned to you, The Alchemist. He lays it out. It's going to happen to you. Thank God I read it right before I put the region. Because I had a bunch of people going, you walked away from what? Because it was a very nice salary. I'm like, yeah, I know. You're not going to get it. It's just time. It's time for me to go do something else. So where does your business come from? You kind of got to go backwards before you can go forwards, right? So here's all the 17 methods. Okay? I'm not going to read them all to you, but we've got expireds and terminated listings. We could have a mail campaign for them. Maybe I will read them all to you. You could have a mail campaign for sale by owners. You could be on the Zillow deal. You could do some business probably off LinkedIn. You could cold call, right? You could do geographic farming. You could probably drive some business through Twitter, all these social things that are out there now, right? Calling and visiting for sale by owners. Door knocking. Joe, you did that, right? Is that story true? You knocked every door in Lawton?
Just about.
Just about. Okay, so we know that works. You could do floor duty, personal advertising, truly open houses. You could get in a B&I group, right? These breakfast groups of where there's one person from each industry. You could go hang out with that to work the referral side. You could call and mail to your past clients. By the way, it's 24 to 30 times a year to really maximize that piece of the puzzle. You could call expireds and terminated listings. You could do the agent insights thing that the region has. You could be on Remax.com and nail that, right? Property advertising, Homes magazines, Harmon Homes, whatever y'all have, the newspaper. You could do that vehicle. You could have a home line, which hardly anybody does anymore. That's the IVR system, where the call capture systems, right, that are out there. VoicePad is a great product if anybody wants to go down that road. And you can also do things by Facebook. I think there's 17 of them up there. There may be more than that. Being good at a whole bunch of stuff is the enemy of being great at a few things. You don't want to be good, you want to be great. You don't want to be the fox, you want to be the hedgehog. The fox can talk a little bit about a whole lot of stuff, right? The hedgehog's like, no, I don't know anything about that, but I know this. And my model says this, and I do this every day. Boom, boom. And my numbers are what my numbers are. I'm consistent. So you've seen the no, do, have thing. It was in your homework, right? And everything you could ever possibly do in the real estate business, and all the cool stuff you could ever have in the real estate business. The reality is you'll never know everything, you'll never do everything, you'll never have everything. So stop trying. You only need to know, do, and have those things that are in the context of the 2 or 3 vehicles from the previous slide that you have chosen to implement. Now you need to know everything about those. You need to do every possible thing you can, and you need to have all the materials you need to maximize the opportunity. It's about going deep, not wide. Success is deep. Okay? The cornerstone of everyone's business and the Achilles heel of every realtor is the whole past client game. Right? So that's where we're going to start. That's where I want to start with everybody. And there's a model for it, and it's very predictable how much business you will do off of this model. Okay? So outside of the public, go back to the tweener slide, outside of our circle is the general public. Okay? These are Zillow, these are Trulia, these are sign calls, ad calls. They do not have a relationship with any realtor. That's why they're calling you, and you don't know them. Here's the dynamic of that group of people. They don't know you, they don't like you. They don't like us. As a people group, they don't like us. They would just as soon go around us if they could. Right? Inside of that group, and better than that group, they're your acquaintances. Now they know you and like you, and given the chance they'll use you, but given the chance they'll use somebody else too. These are the people that you sold them a house, and then you go back by their house 2 or 3 years later and somebody else's sign's in the yard. And you're like, dang it, I thought they were my guy. The only reason that happened is we didn't stay in contact. It's the only reason it happened. Inside of that, and even better, is your network. Now they know you and like you. They'll always use you, but they're not necessarily telling their friends to use you. 2 things kick in at this point. If I've used you and I'm not telling my friends to use you, it's either because I forgot about you, right? You didn't stay in contact with me, or you weren't any good. That's kind of the gut-wrenching side of this, right? If you can't build a referral-based business, you're not any good at what you do. I will continue to use you because you're my friend. I won't tell my friends to use you. You're not very good. Right? Think about it. You got people like this in your life. Back when I had hair, I had a barber that was this way. Bob the barber. He was my barber. I'd been with him forever. Bob shook. He was shaky. And he shaved my neck with a straight razor.
No.
True. This is a true story. I don't tell anything that didn't really happen to me. You haven't lived until you've had a guy coming at you like this, seriously, with a straight razor. And then every once in a while, he'd run over real quick and I'd go, did you cut me again? I'm sorry. It'll quit in a minute. I couldn't tell my friends to use him. Like, you idiot, he's shaved. Put the straight razor away, right? But we all have those kinds of people. We still use them. The relationship's so deep, I'm still going to use you, but you're not very good, right? Inside of that are your advocates. They stop traffic for you. They tell everybody, man, don't even think about calling anybody but Lon. Don't think about calling anybody but Joe. In fact, let me just call Joe right now and tell him that you're going to be calling. In fact, let me just have Joe call you. How about that? That's what an advocate does, right? You guys have advocates. The game is to move people to different levels. Now, I know you guys are in the Buffini program, okay? This is my departure from Mr. Buffini, and he makes a lot more money than I do, so he's probably right. But my model says it's not A's, B's, C's, and D's. It's an A or you're out. You're either in my network, you're either an A or an A plus. An A would be in my network, or you're out. There is a way for you to figure out who your guys are. Okay? So it'll be the first thing that I want you guys to launch. It's a couple of letters and a client survey you're going to send out to all the people that you think know you, like you, and want to deal with you again. They will reply back to whether they actually do know you, like you, and want to work with you again. Personally, I had 1,450 people in my database. Okay? You can't effectively contact 1,450 people and make them feel special. You end up sending out just mambly-pambly junk to them. I did this. This was actually, David Scott and I were talking on the phone one day. And that was how I developed this system. He said, you need to figure out who your guys are. He said, this is Pareto's law. And I go, okay, that's great. How do I do that? He goes, I don't know. But I'm just telling you, there's some really great people in there and you're probably treating them all the same. And that resonated with me. He was right. I had 1,450 people in my database. When I got done, I had 356. I had 1,100 people that did not know me, did not like me, or did not want to deal with me ever again. I had 4 times when I sent out a letter and the new wife crossed off the ex-wife's name and sent the survey back to me. I had one couple who wrote in a big red marker, "We would not recommend you to a dog." Now, it's gut-wrenching, right? The challenge is, the guy that wouldn't recommend me to a dog was getting exactly the same crappy material from me as the guy who sent me 5 referrals a year. I was treating them all exactly the same. So one of the things I'll challenge you to do is use this system. Let them raise their hand to you, not you. The first level is, you're going to go through your database and you're going to go, oh, I remember them. Just delete them. It was F5 on my computer, right? I mean, life's too short if you look at the phone and go, oh God, it's them. Right? And we all have, right? I mean, it's too short. I was talking to Lon about that day about recruiting people. He's like, there's some people I just don't want them, right? But there are people that you look at the phone and go, oh wow, what an awesome person this is. You stop what you're doing to talk to them. Those are your advocates, right? So just understand this. When you have a closing, okay? Because I know you guys are good. I mean, I know for this room, I know for RE/MAX agents, that's who my people group is. I know it's not the issue of you're not good. It's the issue of we don't keep in contact with them. That's all. That's the issue RE/MAX people have. Other companies, they got the issue you're just not very good. We don't have that issue. You guys are awesome. When you have a closing with someone, they are in your network. Right? If they had to do something tomorrow, again, the test is they'll always use you. They would call you again to buy or sell another house the next day after the closing. Please understand, they don't stay there. They move. Right? Now, we try to move a certain percentage of those people to A pluses, to the advocate level. But not everybody will go. My father was not an advocate for me. I think I told you this last time. I mean, he called me and said, I bought a warehouse. Let's go look at it. I'm like, Dad, I got a license. He's like, yeah, well, it was a good deal. He wasn't wired to be an advocate for anybody. That's who he was, not what I was doing, right? Certain people will move to advocates. That's what we want. So from this day forward, anytime you deal with someone, part of what you should just hand across for them to sign as they're signing their paperwork is a client survey. Just get it on the table right now. It's part of the listing packet. It's part of the buyer packet. Here's all the information that I need, right? Is anybody doing that? You doing it now? Okay, and then you just started. And then after you do that, now they're going to hear from. Now that person's going to hear from you 24 to 30 times a year, right? If you don't do that, they move out over a period of time and they're acquaintances again. Yeah, I'd use them, but you know what? I might use somebody else too. And then ultimately they move all the way out to being like the general public and we have to re-recruit them again. Okay? You got to guard home court. Right? It's like a home game. I've dealt with these people. I was good. They like me. I like them. They're never going to play with anybody else but me. This is such a dominant thing in real estate. It's incredible. I was talking to, did I tell you the story about opening up a bank account? I mean, Kansas City opened up a bank account because I was living in Kansas City at the time, or at least had an apartment there. I went in to open up a bank account, and the lady said, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm the regional director for RE/MAX. She said, oh, my husband and I, we just bought a house like 4 months ago. I said, great, did you use a RE/MAX agent? She goes, no, I don't think they were with RE/MAX. I said, oh, okay. I said, were they good? And she said, fabulous. She said, absolutely, the best transaction we've ever had, and we've moved 8 times. I said, what was the agent's name? Boy, I don't remember. And I started laughing. She goes, what are you laughing about? I go, I knew that's where we were going to end up. I said, here's what I know. This agent did a great job for you. You would refer them business, wouldn't you? She said, absolutely. I said, well, you can't, because you can't remember what her name is. And I said, I'll go a step farther. You haven't heard from her since the closing, have you? She said, no, I haven't. And I go, well, let me just let you know another little secret. You never will. If you haven't heard from her by now, you ain't going to hear from her anytime later. You might get a calendar or something at Christmas with big whoop. I run into this all the time with people. You got to protect home court. Key numbers, you got to watch. Okay, key numbers in dealing with past clients at a high level. Your database size and the number of contacts. Your database size will be determined by them, no longer by you. Your database will grow as you continue to do more business because every person that you deal with is doing the client survey thing, right? So it's going to grow back up there again. But you're never going to lose those people. 12 informational pieces a year needs to be sent out to these people. They can be whatever format you want to. You can email them 12 times a year. I don't care. 4 times a year, you're going to call these people, right? 4 times a year, you're going to write them thank you notes for the referrals that they sent you, 3 or 4 times a year, right? And 4 times a year, if it's a family of 4, you're going to send them birthday cards. And 1 time a year, you're going to send them a group holiday card. That's going to be 24 to 30 touches depending on family size. So what's it going to cost me? It's going to cost you about $98 a family. It'll cost you $38 or thereabouts to just the postage side of doing some of these things, right? If you chose to go with mail. And it's not important the vehicle. What's important is that there is a dispersion among the vehicles, if you will. Okay? You can't just email them. That really doesn't work very well. You have to be coming at them 2 or 3 different ways. And I think that every time someone recommends you to someone else, you should send them something. I don't know if it's illegal in Oklahoma. Does anybody know it's not? Okay, cool. Because it's illegal in Missouri. But we do it anyway. Well, because the theory is if they're my guys, who are they going to tell? Right? Okay? But like a $20 deal, a $10 deal, it's not really the value of it. Don't get hopped up thinking you got to buy them a $100 bottle of wine. It's the surprise factor of it because small business doesn't do this. Small business does not stay in contact with people. Think of your insurance agent. When was the last time you heard from your insurance agent? And if there was State Farm or American Family, you hear from them, but that's generated by the company. Right? So, factual and experiential, we've already talked about that. You got to know your stuff in today's world. You got to be studying. You got to know property values better than you ever have. Okay, because that's really what people are looking for. You have to have the reality habit of how good is your stuff really? How good are your processes really? How good's your listing presentation really? In a competitive environment, would you still win? Right? If people were really interviewing 3 or 4 different people, could you win? Is your stuff good? Do you have a cool pre-listing packet? Do you even have a pre-listing packet? Do you have a cool buyer packet? Do you have great dialogue? We got to get a little reality of here's where I really am. Now I got to move forward to get to where I want to go. Speaking of the reality habits, does anybody know who this guy is? He is famous, number 1.
He got hair.
Huh? He's got hair. He's got good hair. He was famous for, in a vice presidential debate, saying, hang on a second, I didn't have my hearing aid in. Does anybody remember him? Some of you are too young to remember this. He was Ross Perot's running mate.
Oh.
Okay? His name is James Stockdale. He was Ross Perot's running mate when Perot ran for president back in the 90s, right? He was panned on Saturday Night Live for the longest time for being the guy who went, hang on, I don't have my hearing aid in. And they brought him in front of all kinds of skits all the time. He would just like come tottering into the room. That's what he's known for, which is sad. He's actually was a professor of philosophy at Stanford University. He's a very brilliant man. There's another picture of him that people don't know about him. He was a POW. And I saw an interview, and they asked him, you got out. You made it. You, John McCain, you guys made it. What was the difference between the people that made it and the guys that didn't? And he goes, oh, that's real simple. The optimists didn't make it. Because the optimists put themselves on such an unbelievable roller coaster that they died. They kept thinking we were going to get out. Every major holiday that came up, we're going to get out this time, right? They're going to let us out now. They're going to come rescue us on Christmas or on the 4th of July or Thanksgiving. And he said they put themselves on such a deal. He said they didn't make it. He said those of us that made it had an unwavering faith that we could and would prevail regardless of what we ran into. We were going to do everything we could every day to get out of there. While while acknowledging we may never get out of there. And Lon gave me the name of a book today, this Fearless thing, and the guy said, find something you have a passion for that you can never finish. Right? They had a passion for getting out, but acknowledging they may never. That's the paradox of this thing. If you put yourself on the emotional roller coaster, it's horrible. And is this not an emotional roller coaster business? Right? It's a horrible emotional roller coaster. And people told us it was going to be an emotional roller coaster. So we're like, get what we expect. It's like people get their real estate license and everybody says, you're not going to make any money for 6 months. So after 6 months, they haven't made a dime and they're like, I'm on track. This is awesome. Seriously. I watch it. I talked to 3 of them yesterday. They're new members on a team in Kansas City. I told the team leaders, I said, what you told them is not what they heard. They're getting exactly, they're fine with not selling anything because everybody told them they weren't going to make any money for 6 months. Right? Or the opposite thing happens. You get in and you do really well in the beginning and everybody goes, man, you are doing awesome. And you're like, you know what? I am. And I'm going to take a little time off. Right? So we set ourselves up, right? Well, just don't do that. You'll overestimate what you can accomplish in a year. You'll underestimate what you can accomplish in 10. So it stands to reason you'll underestimate what you can accomplish in a month. Or I'm sorry, you'll overestimate what you can accomplish in a month. You'll underestimate what you can accomplish in a year. You'll overestimate what you can do in a week, but you'll underestimate in a month, and you'll overestimate in a day, but you'll underestimate in a week. It's about being consistent. Right? That's all you need to know. We got to break this thing down to daily tasks 5 days a week. When you break your business down that way, the numbers of this industry are astounding. And all of a sudden you realize this is like a 20, 25 hour a week gig. A very focused activity. And then you go home and be with your kids. I'm very passionate about the fact you don't miss a kid ball game. Period. You just don't. Okay? I still have one more at home, so don't miss ball games. I figure out how to get there. Focus. You got to focus. You got to stop chasing rabbits. You got to stop chasing shiny objects. Focus in. Understand the numbers of what we're trying to do. That's what we're going to try to help you with, is really getting deeply into these numbers and going, now that'll work. Right? Being consistent, and you need other people. You massively need other people. Wherever you can get to on your own, you can get to a higher level if you will allow people to help you. And once you make the decision of what you're going to do, they want to help you. Okay? It is about doing things in your highest and best use. And here's some examples. 3 key people to your success. Sorry, I got my slides out of order. All right? I think everybody does need a consultant. Not because I'm a consultant. I just know that everybody needs one. And a consultant just simply looks at your business with a different set of eyes. It can be somebody from another industry who can go, why do you do that? We don't do that in our business. And so you have to answer for why I do this because, and a consultant might go, what's your conversion rate on that deal? What's your cost per lead on that deal? And is that cost per lead in line with what your expenses should be? And all of a sudden you go, what?
Yeah.
Right? One of my guys owned a PPG automotive paint store. He was just a friend of mine. I helped him on how to hire great delivery truck drivers. That was my big claim to fame. And he showed me how he set the store up, which he knew per square foot sales. I'm like, what is that? And to him, he's like, well, that's just logical. I know every square foot of my store, what that little square foot is. I predict what the sales are going to be on per square foot. Well, now as brokers, we still do that as far as rents and things like that, right? It was a foreign concept when I first heard it. You also need a mentor. And a mentor is someone who has walked down the road that you say you want to walk down. They are behaviorally wired like you. They're just farther down the road. Okay? I do not like mentoring programs in real estate offices. Because unless you're a behavioral match with the mentor, it can spin the mentee, if that's a word, right out of the business. Mm-hmm. There was a lady in our office, Connie Voigt. Connie Voigt would just tell you the key to success. You meet me here at 7:30 in the morning. We're strapping on headsets and we're dialing. she would have killed Donna Hartman. I got into being like the mad scientist in the office. Made 6 figures her second year. Has consistently grown her business by about 33% a year, other than when the whole business tanked. She has maximized the past client program. I just talked to her about it the other day. I said, "Are you still doing it?" She goes, "Yeah, I haven't changed a thing. 10 years. I do the same thing." She's got it down. Her clients hear from her all the time. They feel special. Everything that she does with her clients is by design. She has a client party at it. We have a AA team in Springfield. Cardinals, AA is Springfield Cardinals. She goes, "I do the baseball game." She goes, "I got it down after a few years." I said, "Tell me about it." She said, I get the section, I make a seating chart. I want people who know people sitting relatively close to each other, and then I leave an empty seat right in the middle. So what do you do that for? She goes, "That's for me." She goes, "That way I've got a seat that I can sit in, and I can just go chat with them, and then in between innings I can go to my next vacant seat, and I know where my vacant seats are." She said, "I got this down." She's always looking for ways to enhance the experience, right? She struck a deal with Andy's Frozen Custard, which is a custard deal. She only has to pay for the custard gift certificates that get redeemed. They gave her the logo. She puts her logo with their logo. She sends out all these free custard things. They invoice her at the end of the month. Write us a check for, here's how many we got. You can do that with local companies. When you get in that mindset, we got to start trying to maximize the dollars. You can do that with local restaurants. My wife works at a spa. They're getting ready to do a deal with a bunch of realtors on the spa. You only have to pay for the massages that actually get redeemed. You got to, if we're thinking that way, if we're going down the road of past clients, we're going to knock it out of the park. Another thing I'm very passionate about, anything you do in life, if you're not willing to try to knock it out of the park, what are you doing?
Right.
If you're not going to do it at the highest level you can, go find something else you got a passion for. Okay. And lastly, you need a peer partner. That's the hardest one, right? The peer partner is somebody in there slugging it out just like you are. The problem with peer partnering is we let up on each other. You have more contact with a peer partner than you do anybody else, and so the peer meetings should be, here's what I did, what did you do, why didn't you get it done, I got mine done, da-da-da-da-da, and instead they become, oh, I didn't get mine done either. Yeah, I know. Well, maybe we'll do better next week. Yeah, okay. And then after about 3 months, the thing just dies, right? So one of the things that I'm going to talk to Lon about is consulting with you guys every week, right? Just 15, 20 minutes for anybody that wants to play the game. If you really want it, you need to check off with people. If you think about your life, you're most satisfied with the parts of your life where you're checking off. Okay, this is why people hire personal trainers, right? Because you'll quit. They'll make you do one more push-up, one more lift, one more whatever. Now onto my slides. Does anybody know who this guy is? No? He's the 8th wealthiest man in the United States. Does anybody know who this guy is? I know they're small, I'm sorry. He's in the top 20 in wealth in the United States. Does anybody know who that guy is? No, no. This should be shocking for you here in a second. Okay? And do we know who that lady is?
Yeah.
Yes, that's Gail Lineker. Okay? That's Dave Lineker's wife, the guy that founded RE/MAX. And if it wasn't for that lady, you wouldn't be sitting here today. Okay? Because she's the one that looked at Dave, and I'm kind of playing it out. He'll be the last one. I'll go ahead and talk about him now. She looked at Dave and said, "You're really good at recruiting real estate agents. You suck at paying bills. You go recruit agents, I'll get your books in line." The true. I mean, if you read the book, that's exactly what Gail did. Okay, so backing up, this guy's name is Charlie Munger. Has anybody ever heard of Charlie Munger? He is partners with this man, Warren Buffett. He's partners in Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett gets it. Okay? Warren Buffett gets that his highest and best use is analyzing stocks, taking positions in those stocks, and ultimately buying out those companies. He owns Dairy Queen. He owns Geico Insurance. He bought the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad 2 years ago at 85. He's obviously not going to retire. I think retirement's a nasty word. He's just as buying Duracell batteries, I read last week. Okay, if you've ever read about Buffett, he believes in buying toll booths, things that everybody likes. He said, "I've always loved Duracell batteries. I'm a Duracell guy. I'm buying the company." Charlie Munger runs Berkshire Hathaway while Warren Buffett goes out at his highest and best use and figures out what companies to buy. This guy's name is Paul Allen, and he goes with Bill Gates. While Bill Gates was out running around the country saying everybody's going to have a computer in their house, and everybody said, "You're an idiot. That'll never happen. Who would want to have a computer in their house?" Paul Allen ran Microsoft. Because Bill Gates highest. Now, is Bill Gates smart enough to run Microsoft? Oh, yeah. Warren Buffett smart enough to run Berkshire Hathaway? Oh, yeah. These guys, these two even go to a different level. Because you realize who Bill Gates hangs out with and asks questions of, right? Warren Buffett. You'll see Warren Buffett and Bill Gates on lots of different television shows, lots of YouTube videos comparing notes on business. They consult each other. They're peer partners with each other. So if it works for these cats, stands to reason it might work for us. This guy's name is Steve Wozniak. He goes with Steve Jobs. Wozniak was the guy that actually invented the Apple computer. Jobs was a sales guy. If you ever read the biography of Steve Jobs, great work, by the way, Walter Isaacson's book, it's fabulous. You will learn that Steve Jobs is not a computer guy. Never wasn't a computer guy. He was a sales guy. And his highest and best use was figuring out how to do this Apple thing. And he totally understood focus. If you know the history of Apple, Jobs is there, it's awesome. They get rid of Jobs at one point, and Apple tanks. Jobs comes back, and it's awesome. Well, when Jobs came back, this is so interesting to me. Probably not to any of you, but I'm going to tell you the story anyway. Jobs comes back, and he's got his top generals sitting around. And he's like, okay, new products. They came up with 100 new products that Apple could do. Jobs said, no. And he went to a whiteboard. His idea on PowerPoint was, he said, PowerPoint's for people that don't know what they're talking about. And he drew a line like that. And he said, on this side is the consumer products, and on this side is the business products, and we can only do 2 of each. That's it. That's all we can do. We can nail 4 products. We can be great, right, with 4 products. We can't be great with 100. Out of that meeting is what got you the iPhone and the iPad. FYI. Right? And lastly is Dave Liniger, right? If it wasn't for his mission and his vision of changing the real estate landscape, you wouldn't be here. If it weren't for Gail appearing at the proper time to help him out, you wouldn't be here. If it weren't for Dennis Curtin being the first franchisee and giving Dave a check for $3,500, you wouldn't be here. Because literally, Dave was closing up the company. Had a meeting, told the agents, we're done, this is crazy, I've had it. And the agents wouldn't leave. And Dennis went up to him and he goes, just here, you need this $3,500 more than I do. Let me take this to Kansas City and see what I can do with it, please. And that's what I mean about when you make a decision, it's going to get hard. It was hard for Dave. But the right people show up at the right time. It happens to you every stinking time when you just make that decision and you get focused. This is what I'm doing. Enough of this mailing it in. It's called power partnership. Right? You make a decision, people will align themselves with you, I promise. Until you make a decision, there are people that could help you, and you miss them. Because you don't even know what you're doing. But if you can get clear on, it is unacceptable for my business to net less than X amount of dollars in 2015. I'm really good at this stuff. I want to explore doing my business that way because I like those things. And I will commit to doing this every day in my business. Then you'll have an outstanding 2015. Don't know exactly what it'll look like, but if you stay focused on those 3 things, you'll get there. So real quick, you're going to model out your business, and I promise I'll shut up and I'll leave you alone. Okay? Take one of these pieces of paper. Okay? And really quickly, we're just going to do a really quick lead generation model. Okay? So the clarity question is, it's unacceptable for my business to net less than X, right? But what we will model out is the gross revenue side of the equation, okay? And again, this is where you're gonna have to do your numbers now. You're gonna have to figure out, for every dollar that comes in, how much do you net, right? Because then that's gonna tell us the gross commission income number. But I'll run through this up here and you guys can do it on your pages. Let's just say I wanted to make $100,000. Okay, I want to make $100,000 in gross commission income. That's going to net me $65,000 probably if I'm running things properly. Okay, I'm going to take that $100,000 and I'm going to divide it by my average commission rate. That's one of the key numbers you guys need to know. What's your average commission rate? Because it's probably not what you think it is. I just had somebody tell me this yesterday. He said, I did the numbers. I had no idea it was that low. I said, what's the problem? She said, I'm cutting commission. I said, why are you cutting commission? She said, because I don't have as many people in my pipeline. I said, why do you not have as many people in your pipeline? She said, I don't prospect enough. I said, why do you not prospect enough? She said, I don't know what to say. I said, okay, we can fix all that. The more people you have, the more you will protect your commissions. The less people you have, the less listings you have, the more overpriced listings you will take, right? But we'll just, for the model's sake, we'll say it's 3%. So if I take $100,000 and I divide it by 0.03, okay, or whatever that rate is, I'm going to come up with a number that says $3,333,333. That's what my volume needs to be. If I do $3,000,003 at 3%, I'll get 100 grand, and then I get 65,000 off the 100 or whatever your math is, right? Divide that by your average sales price, and let's say it's 150. Or what is your average sales price? Say it's 100. That'll make my math easy. Okay. So if I take $3,000,003 and I divide it by 100,000, ergo, I need to have how many closed transactions? 33 closed transactions. Okay. That's the transactions needed number. Now in Star Wars, Yoda said, do or do not. There is no try. So once you put that number on paper, ain't no trying, you're going to do it. We're going to give ourselves 12 months to do it. We're going to break everything down to quarterly goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, and daily goals. And all we're going to focus on is those daily levers that we're going to do every day. And in the beginning, it's not going to work. I'll just warn you. Because in the beginning of any new activity, you don't get results. You just create habits. But we're going to get there by the end of the year. This is just how it works. I understood this without being able to draw it out. I was quitting the real estate business. I was 4 years in. I was just going like this. This guy showed up with the black suit on and the squiggly tie. I gave myself 12 months. I'm either going to get in or get out. I'm not going to work weekends. I'm not going to do open houses. Nobody's going to call me at home. Everybody said you can't do it. Those are the winds of whatever, right? I stepped out and I went to a meeting and I learned how to do it. I went from $48,000 to $192,000 in income in 12 months, $85,000 average sales price. I barely got out of college. I'm not a smart guy. I can get intentional and get focused when I need to. You can do the same thing. All right? So we need 33 transactions. Where we're going to start, the cornerstone is your past clients. How many people are in your database? Do you have a database, number one?
Yes.
Okay? We have a database. Here is the model, okay? Here is the model. Here's the way the math works on keeping in contact with people 24 to 30 times a year in the proper way. Okay? So, let's say, hold on a minute. How many people you got? Somebody give me a number. How many you got in your database?
382 on my database.
You got 382. Okay, so the model says they are each going to know 5 people in the course of a year who will do something in real estate. Okay? So if I take 382 times 5, 1910, you're already ahead of me, 1910. And then we model out a 5% paid on rate. We acknowledge that 95% of the time, you don't get the deal. They're upside down in their house, they forgot to send you the referral, the guy can't qualify for the loan, they didn't get the transfer, whatever. Only 5% close rate. we take 1910 times,
It's 95.5.
is 95 and a half? Did you do 95 and a half transactions?
Yeah.
There you go. You are the outlier. You have a very effective business model. I have had agents that when we do this math, it says they should have done 327 transactions because they're toting around a 5,000 person database. Right? So here's the game. If I want to make 100, right? If I want to make 100,000, I needed 33 deals. If I've already got enough people to generate me 33 deals, you don't ever have to prospect. You just have to love all over the people you already have. If you don't have enough people, now we're going to have to fill in the edges until we get to the proper number of people. That's the prospecting techniques, right? That's the 17 different ways. There's the big 5 are on your list. When I teach a class, it will be on the big 5. It's really hard to teach a class on buying a billboard. It's a method, but just throw some money at it. Gotta hope it works. It never worked for me. I used to have 2 billboards. I tried everything, right? We will work our way through these numbers. But for a lot of people, we just get to stop right here. And it's like, just come to the past client classes. Just focus in, right? It's that simple. But if you don't have enough, now you're going to have to make a decision. Am I going to go talk to for sale by owners? I don't know if you are or not. Okay? But if you are, I will lay out a theory on the mindset of a for sale by owner for you, on why they do some of the things they do. I will arm you with the materials that you need to be able to effectively go deal with these people, right? I will give you the scripts and dialogues. They're very much a soft sell. It's very much just go the opposite way of all the other realtors. Every realtor's trying to get in their house, claiming they have, I think I might have a buyer for your house. Can I come in and take a look? I'm going to tell you that you go up to the door and say, hey, notice a sign in your yard. Here's a card. If you need any help, let me know. Have a nice day. Bye. And a certain percentage of these people go, don't you want to see my house? No, I'm totally down with what you're trying to do here. But if you run into something, I'm just here. What they don't know is you're coming back next week. And the next week, and the next week, and the next week with items of value for them, a la Buffini, right? It's a for sale by owner book. It's a CMA. It's a vendor list. And you're just going to keep dripping on those people. Expireds are different. Expireds are go for the throat. I changed my real estate life calling expireds. I will call, when we come to the prospecting class, if you'll just bring me expireds that you can get a phone number for. Now, is that hard in your market to get phone numbers for expireds?
No.
It's not. If you will bring me phone numbers, for any person that brings me the phone numbers, I will be your assistant. I will call on your behalf, and I will set appointments. I will guarantee you I will set appointments. If they have not listed it with somebody else, I will at least get a packet of yours in their hands. Okay? I've done this all over everywhere, and everybody doesn't think I can do it, and I do. We get it done, and sometimes it takes a long time. I find a guy down in New Orleans, he's like, I don't know who hired you, but you're really good at this. Right? And I had him on speakerphone so everybody could hear. And I said, you just can't laugh when I got the packet. I was not going to let go. I was going to get a packet in their hand. They hadn't hired anybody yet, and that's all I wanted to know. We're going to talk about open houses and what's a good open house versus a bad open house, and how you set an open house up to be a good open house, right? Which ones you hold open and why. It's the best chance for you to double in something. We should be holding open houses because we want to double in this great new listing that we had. We should not be holding open houses because the seller called and said, if you don't get out here and hold it open, I'm firing you and hiring somebody else. We should never hold open houses down a dirt road somewhere that nobody's going to show up. High traffic, well priced, all that good stuff. We will talk about, what's the other ones? Oh, add and sign calls, effectively converting an incoming sign call, effectively converting an incoming email. They're one and the same, right? The same rules apply. And then lastly, well, that's kind of with the internet thing. These are predictable numbers that you can hit with these activities. For sale by owners carry a full weight of 1. They got a sign in the yard. We know they're in the market. Expireds carry a weight of 0.75. 25% of expireds are like, no, really, I'm done. I ain't jacking with this anymore. right? Open house people, the model says half the people that come to your open house really are the neighbors, right? Sign calls, 20%. 2 out of 10 people are going to do something. You need to differentiate yourself from all the other realtors that they talk to, right? The first way you can differentiate yourself from all the other realtors is what?
Schedule an appointment with them.
Answer your phone.
Oh.
That will differentiate you from a large group of real estate agents. Just simply answering your phone. Answering your phone professionally, right? Stock way up, okay? And then lastly, the whole internet game. And I will lay out, I'll be honest with you, I will lay out theory on the internet. I may have you teach the internet deal on how you effectively work the Zillow thing if you really want to, right?
I'm not a good teacher.
Okay?
I can talk all day long.
All I'm saying is, whatever it is you want to do, if you can just come back with, it is unacceptable for my business to net less than this, we can model the rest of this out. Right, Joe? I mean, you can model it out. And then it's just about being consistent, right? It's just about showing up all the time. It's about checking off. It's about having people help you, hold you accountable to what it is you said you wanted to do. I'm not trying to get you to do something you didn't want to do. I'm giving you a free pass. You can write 0 down on all those things. You can look at all 17 methodologies and you can say, I don't want to do any of those things. Then you need to get a new business because this is the wrong one for you. Because those are the 17 or 18 or how many there are up there. Those are the ways you generate business in this particular endeavor. All right? So that's what we're going to do moving forward for those that want to play. Any questions? Yes, sir.
One thing I want to mention is at the start of this, I've always had a problem with this scenario where realtors say that they don't like dealing with sellers, and then I have realtors say that they don't like dealing with buyers.
Right.
When I got into this, I became a realtor. Now my course of being a realtor is dealing with buyers and dealing with sellers. So I never could understand that philosophy is where people separate themselves, being able to focus with buyers and being able to focus with sellers, whereas I focus with both. Okay, I'll deal with both of them.
Right.
Okay, and have different scenarios for each one. Okay, because they're so different. Okay,
Right.
but you know, I've actually had realtors